Hello, and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we get to talk about experiences shaping exceptional lives. And today I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with RoseMarie Couture DeSaro. Yes? Yes,
DeSaro. Close.
DeSaro. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and let me introduce you, Ro. Ro has always been a trailblazer. She's one of the first women on Wall Street in New York City to break through the glass ceiling and make a name for herself in the business world. From there, she grew a $1 million company from scratch, giving other women the blueprint to do the same. Her TEDx talk has inspired countless women to recognize the blind spots that keep them playing small. Ro is a champion of balancing our masculine and feminine energies to accelerate significantly better results and living a life of fulfillment, a.k.a. having it all. What makes Rose so special is her ability to light up any room she walks into. Her charisma and passion are undeniable, and she inspires others to be their best selves and is a master collaborator. She's a leader in every sense of the word. Welcome, Ro.
Happy to be here with the Brooklyn accent.
With the Brooklyn accent. All right. Yeah,
The Brooklyn, New York accent.
I love that. So what do you say in Brooklyn? What's a saying you have? Like what I remember in New Jersey, we used to say "doity doity poiple boys, poich and a poich in New Jersey."
Yeah, we're kind of
Or
like,
walk
did
the
you eat
dog.
yet? Did you eat? It's just like, what is that? Did you eat?
Yeah,
Did you eat? Did you eat? It's like, did you eat yet?
yeah. Did
It's like,
you? Yeah.
just shorten every sentence that you could say. Forget about it, right?
Oh yeah, love that. I took my kids to New York City one time, and we stayed there for a week in the hotel and right across the street from the Waldorf Astoria. It was amazing. And we had a
Nice
taxi
area.
driver that said, "Yeah, forget about it." It was so much fun. So,
Yeah.
what do you got going on now, Ro? What's happening in your life?
I have a lot going on because I've actually retransitioned my brand last year and it actually took on a partner as well. So there's just so many changes going on. What happened for me is when COVID hit, I went immediately into leadership mode. I wasn't necessarily a leadership coach then.
Mhm.
I've been a leader my whole life, but I was more of a business coach and doing the inner work for women business owners. And and I was kind of geared more towards the business coaching, even though I really wanted deep down in my heart, I realized during COVID that my love was really doing the inner work and having people step into who they are and raise their hand and take that bold leadership, like you say.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit, I've been through so many crises over the last 40 years and stock market crashes and financial, markets falling apart and, so many different things that I knew that this was just another one. And not did I know it was going to last 3 years? No, but it still, at the end of the day, I still knew that people were going to put their head under the carpet. They were going to sweep everything, and hide until this was all over. And I felt in my being that women would lose so many years of like everything that we've done. We've come so far, and I
Mm.
just felt if we stop now, it was too crucial of a time for women to stop. And I felt I was so afraid of women stopping that I just went out there and I just started doing challenges and Facebook lives and all kinds of things of, serve, lead, and grow in the unknown market, embrace your courage, all that. And I woke up like, I don't know, 6 months later, a little burnt out because I was like, we don't have time. And it kept on going. But I woke up and I said, this is what I love and this is what I want to do. So what does it look like for my Gutsy Gal brand to grow up? What's the next level? What's the next evolution for the Gutsy Gals? And then also for me, it was that next evolution was really about collaborating and being in a collective, not only with women, but with men. It's
Okay.
time for women and men to work together side by side.
Mhm.
Um, I think we've made a name for ourselves and we've proved ourselves. We've been proving it all along. We just society wasn't telling our stories. Women have been doing amazing things for years and decades and well centuries, but they were never, put on the pedestal. So we always would say that we don't have enough success clues leaves clues, right? We don't have the clues of women being successful. Well, I could show you so many successful women that have done things, and they're even more successful in this stance because they didn't even have half the tools and the support that we have now. And so I just know that it's time for women and men to work evenly together, really create a loving society, create a respected one, create one where we'll all bring in our unique geniuses, our collective wisdom, our collective intelligence, and make a better world. Create innovative products and programs that's not out there yet. So that's what I'm up to, and that's what I've been shifting and changing, and it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Oh, that's exciting. So this is like like a brand new, blooming, growing idea that you've been working on
Yeah.
for a long time, but it sounds like it's you know, changed a bit, but now you're growing again, and you have an event coming up. You do a
I
lot of
have a I
events actually,
yeah,
don't
I
you?
have a few events coming up. I'm gonna be doing I have a workshop, like a one-day masterclass coming up on what I call it's kind of like rehearsal. It's behave, believe, become. It's
Uh-huh.
helping women step into, and it could be men too, but this one was no, this one I think is just women only. Helping women step into who they need to be in the future now. So be your future self now. That's a workshop on that. So it's about, manifesting and really rehearsing and stepping into owning who you are and by practice, and by developing the energy. And then I have my collaborate conference coming up in April. Actually have a challenge coming up. Harness your superpowers challenge the week of March 6th through the 10th, and a productivity summit coming out in September. So that's good. We've got lots of good little things on the drawing board.
That's cool. So you caught my attention when you said own who you are. Tell me about that. What's the motivation there and the
Because the
genesis?
motivation there is that, everybody says they want more confidence, right? But
Yeah.
where does confidence come from? What precedes confidence is courage. And what precedes courage is willingness and then commitment. So our natural confidence comes from the courage, but it really comes from stepping into making that commitment. And the easiest way to make that commitment is knowing who you are, knowing that what you bring to the table is powerful, your self-worth, your self-value, and finding that out. Once you find that out, once you own who you are, so you
Mhm.
discover really who you are, what you want, what is it that you stand for, what's important to you, all of that. And once you do that, then you could step into making that commitment to be like, I'm unshakable, I'm unstoppable. I don't care, what anybody says. This is what I want. This is who I am. And raise your hand loud and proud. And, it doesn't matter how unique you think you are. That's what we need. We need that unique brilliance of everyone, right? So
Yeah.
owning it is about really doing the deep inner work that most people want to just kind of fluff over.
Mm.
They don't want to, they think, I find a lot of people don't do the deep inner work because they're afraid of what they might find out. They're thinking this worst case. Meanwhile, what they find out is their brilliance. So they find out the complete opposite, or they think it's going to take a lot of time, or it's too much work, or too much effort to really, get rid of all those limiting beliefs and those self-sabotage and those self-doubts and all of that. And right, but really, that's your foundation. It's like building a house. You build a foundation, and it takes long to build a foundation. And then once the foundation is in, the house is up in 2 weeks. I mean, I saw this with my own house that I built. And I was like, there's no way. I was telling my husband, there's no way this house is going to be done in 6 months. It's like we're 4 months into it, and it doesn't even look like they've done anything. And so it's that same thing of like doing that self discovery, doing that work. It's not hard, uh, but it takes effort. And a lot of people,
What was your journey? You must have had some epiphany for that. And that sounds like a key element. And the way you describe owning who you are, you say that
well,
with such confidence. And so I'd like to explore that with you. How did you come about
awesome.
that
Well, I do.
realization?
How do I come about that realization? It started when I was young,
Uh-huh.
actually. And I'm going to attribute it to my mom. I had a very powerful mother, so she was leading by example. She didn't know she was leading. I mean, born in 1929, and she went to work in 1960 with 5 kids from 3 years old to 13 years old. I was the 3-year old. And she talked about having it all, going out there and working and having 5 kids, and I mean, a full-time job. And so she kind of showed me what a woman can do,
Hmm.
but the world was telling me the opposite. Because
Was
anytime I
dad in the
wanted to do
picture
what I
too?
wanted to do as a woman, I was
Was
getting that, no,
dad?
you can't do that. You're a woman.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Was dad in the picture then too?
He was, well, kind of. He was in the picture, but he really wasn't active in the picture.
Okay.
My father kind of lived in the bottle a lot. So
Okay.
So my mom was the domineering. He was the feminine in the house. She was the masculine. So that's kind of understood about the masculine and feminine balances.
Right.
So so I knew that I said, my mom's doing amazing things. The world's telling me a woman can't. I studied psychology. I went to pre-med, but then I studied psychology and I became got my degree in psychology, and I did a lot of analyzing, and I just came out with this belief, really deep, really, really powerful, that women can do what a man can do. This was in the 70s, late 70s. A woman can do what a man can do. And when I graduated college, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to prove it. And I prayed to God to give me a girl so I could raise one powerful girl myself, and a boy so that at least I could raise one respectful man. My
All right.
thinking, that was my thinking as like a 21-year-old.
Okay.
And
Wow.
guess what? I have a boy and a girl. The girl is first, the boy is second, and they're both powerful. So I said, where can I prove this? It wasn't about me. I didn't think I was great. I was just pissed off that women weren't getting their fair share. So
Uh-huh.
for me, it was bringing in that movement of the whole collective, the women as a whole. And I said, I'm going to do this on Wall Street. And I had some friends and family members that were commodity brokers. I actually wanted to be the first commodity broker uh, on Wall Street. And after spending some time on the floor, they really convinced me. Says, you really don't want to do this because it is on as a trader in the pit. It's very physical as well.
Hmm.
And I'm only not even 5'4", so it was like, so I kind of said, yeah, you're probably right, and I don't know if I want this, but I had my sights set for Wall Street with my psychology degree. And they kind of give me hints. So I got a mentor, had men mentoring me early on. And I
Hmm.
think it's because they saw that I wasn't a pushover, that I was serious. And I was never a feminist. I was never against men. I was never, women are better, men stink. It
Right.
was just that, listen, I think we're getting the short end of the stick. And found the men that agreed with me on that and helped me and gave me advice.
What
And
kind of
basically,
advice did they give you? What things did
they
they say?
said, to get a job on Wall Street, don't get a back office job. You could get a back office position, but make sure it's on the trading floor. Make sure it's in a visible location. Think about it from branding today. This is such great advice. It was like, just make sure it is something where you will be seen.
Hmm.
And I
Okay.
said, okay. And I turned down. So one of my first bold moves was that I turned down many positions because it didn't fit that mold.
Okay.
And I got a job on the municipal bond trading floor. It was E.F. Hunton and Company, large floor, like 100 traders. And it was a very, very busy time. The markets were going crazy, and they needed somebody to look at their trades before they were submitted because there was so many errors and they were losing a lot of money because people were working so fast because this is when their interest rates were like 20%, and this municipal bonds.
Yeah.
So
So this was in like the early 80s, late 70s, early
early 80s. Yep.
early 80s.
Early 80s.
Yeah, I remember that.
And yeah, I went there in
Mikata.
1981.
Yep.
Yeah, you remember that, right?
Oh yeah.
So it was a
I remember
newly
the
created
E.F.
business.
Hutton. It's like the old ad too. If it
When
would,
Ian Cotton
when
talks,
E.F. Hutton
people
talks,
listen.
people listen. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
funny
actually
how
have
we
it
remember
behind
that.
me. I should take it out. I usually don't have a blurred background. There it is. See the E.F. Hutton hat behind me?
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
then the picture is the America's Cup. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen.
Okay.
And
That's fun.
yeah,
Very good.
so it still means a lot to me. And that company is back. Because they had such a great reputation, they actually just brought it back like 2 years ago, which I just found out recently. So anyway, I I got that position. Within 6 months,
Uh-huh.
I got my promotion into like out of the back office clerical type position into a liaison position, which was the go between the stockbrokers and the traders.
So
And
what
and
was
then
it about that transition? Because you came in as an underdog and you
as
had to
underdog,
you had to
no
make a
economics,
you come how many other women were in there at that time? And I'm thinking, yeah.
zero.
So how did you get that shot? What did you do?
Well, I think it's my I was so my little, street smarts of growing up in
Yeah,
Brooklyn,
put the
having a
jersey on.
strong mom,
Yeah, yeah.
right? My mom was like, she knew what she wanted and she wasn't afraid to tell anybody.
Okay.
And if you didn't like what she said, she was like tough, so I
Okay.
had that as a my mentor. And I was just so strong on being pissed off that women weren't getting that proof. The
Right.
women that were around then were more like they were in public finance, they were in their suit and ties, they were dressing like men, and I was like, ugh, this was just not the way I want to prove it. I want to prove it as a woman.
Mm.
And the gentleman, and actually he was a black man and he was the only one, back then too, and he was the only, even person of color. He
Mm.
said to me, "Do you want to do what I'm doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "So pick up that phone." I says, "What do you mean? I don't even have my Series 7 yet." And he says, "Trust me. If the stockbroker knows what he's doing, he's going to ask for somebody by name. He only wants to deal with who he knows.
Hmm.
And if they're willing to speak to you, that means they probably know less than you." I said, "Okay,
Okay. All
I'll
right.
try it. I'll try it." And I started picking up the phone and, screaming out bids across the room. And everybody was like, "Who's this little girl screaming out bids?" And within 6 months, I got the promotion. And I was VP. I got assistant VP then, and then I became vice president. So I started in 81. I became VP right in 87, right before the stock market crashed. So
Okay.
in 6 years, I was vice president. And it was just because I didn't I didn't doubt myself because I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know any better.
Hey, sometimes that's just like you're just going for it, right? You don't
Yeah, it
really.
was because I think if it was about me, I would have said, well, first of all, I'm not smart enough. Second off, I don't have any economics degree. I have a psychology degree. And what I became was vice president, regional director of marketing and sales. So I
Okay.
was selling to the stockbrokers. And guess what? When you're in sales, what are you in? You're in psychology more than you're in economics.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And that's what I did. And I was selling to the brokers, and that was a great opportunity for me to learn because New York City brokers, and I dealt with the high end brokers. These are the $1 million producers in the 80s, and it was just great foundation for me to now build my muscle of going out. So when we went into mergers and acquisitions after 87, after the crash, and I went to Smith Barney, Thompson McKinnon, all the companies that were falling apart. I picked them really well after that, and then I went into sales, and then I went into direct sales right then because I had already built and designed my own house. I had a big mortgage. I had my back up against the wall. And I learned that when your back is up against the wall, you'll say yes to a lot of things that you normally would not say yes to. You
Yeah.
don't have time to say, I don't need that. You'll look at the money and you look at the compensation plan. Well, if I can do that, I can make that, then I can get out of this hole I just built.
Right.
So, women have that reputation that men will say yes to things they're not qualified for. Women will only say yes to things that they guaranteed know what to do. And I was the opposite. I was like kind of like the men in the sense that's where I was
Okay.
bold in that I was saying yes to things that I had no idea that I said yes to a job. I became regional. I was national sales director for a direct sales company after only
Mhm.
being a year in direct sales. It was something that fell on my lap, and I don't even know how I said yes. And the only reason why I said yes is because my back was up against the wall because I had a big
Sure.
fat mortgage. My husband was he's a union in New York, electrician,
Uh-huh.
and he was on uh, a lockout, and I was going through mergers and acquisitions, and both of our incomes was at the same time like gone. So I had said yes, and I learned how it's like, say yes and the how will come. And that was another great muscle for me to learn to be bold, to create the Gutsy Gal brand was because just yet you listen to your intuition, but you say yes. If it's if your intuition was right, it will all come. And before I knew it, I was, speaking across, you know, thousands and thousands of representatives across the country
Mhm.
in speaking, and I never really spoke before. I spoke at EF Hutton to the stockbrokers, but it was a brand new position. So these are all muscles, right? They're all like boldness, gutsy, risk taking. It's not like you wake up one day, I am like, I'm meek and this, and then the next day I'm like bold, and it's going out there and learning from it. And then you just realize because it always turns out never to be as bad as you think it's going to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Your yeah, your imagination is a lot more uh
It goes to the
colorful
worst
than
case
reality.
scenario. Yeah. It goes to so I kept seeing that over and over and over and over again. And that's
Excellent.
what's helped me a lot. A lot.
Fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to say, how did you get on? What was your, quickly, we're got a little more time. Um, your story to get on TEDx. I've got your TEDx video up.
My TEDx, so I went to Hoboken TEDx, and the very first time I went to a TEDx, I was like, wow, I really like this. And I said, I want to speak on that stage. I manifested it, completely just manifested. I put the energy out there, I put the belief out there. I'd spoken a lot and I wanted to be, and I love speaking as my lead generation for my business. And I wanted TEDx on my resume. I knew what that would bring me in credibility. And I
Mhm.
just love that style of talk. And I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And every year that Hoboken TEDx, because this was even kind of, I mean, there were TEDx's everywhere, but pretty much you kind of applied local
Mhm.
where you lived. And every year, like a couple of years, I would apply and not get it. And then there was one year that the topic was like made for me. The
Okay.
theme was made for me. It was all about show up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the theme,
Yeah. That's you.
that's me. And I said, this is it. This is the one. And the woman knew me and she knew what I did. So she kind of knew that it was, designed, perfect design theme for me as well. And then that's how
Uh-huh.
I got it.
So how did
She,
that feel being up on stage? What was that like?
it was very nerve wracking.
Yeah.
It was probably a speech that I've never studied as much as before. I mean, they have a beautiful system and I had to have that speech, that talk written down about this was in December, and I think it was early summer. I had to have it done.
Wow.
Now, up until then, most of the time, if I did a presentation, it was like, I have a presentation next week I'm giving, and I'm still writing some final things
Right.
put
Pretty
together.
normal.
Yeah, And this was like 6 months. So it was like, because a lot of it is memorization, and thank God, because those nerves was super high, and that memorization came through. I had friends in the audience, and that helped.
Uh,
But it was a great experience. I highly recommend it to anybody, even if it doesn't matter to have. It's so different than speaking on any other stage. It's a different type of talk. It's a different type of stage, different type of reaction. So I recommend it to anyone that is adventurous and just wants the experience. Besides what it does give you, you can do it, because if I did it, you can do it.
all right, awesome. Yeah, I've got a story that I've told a couple of times, but not in the whole entirety of it. And it's been suggested that it would make a good TED talk. So,
Yeah. Now
but
they have people coaching on how to get a TED talk and how
yeah,
to do different things. So if you really want it, there's lots of ways that you could learn how to do it and get it done.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure
Just
that
gotta
would
go
be
after
really
what you
fun.
want. You got to know what you want, because when you know what
Mhm.
you want, it goes back to what we just talked about, owning it. Because when you know what you want, you're able to own it. And when you own it, you can manifest it. You have that strong belief. And it's the belief that gets the universe and the energies and the synchronicities and the doors opening. And it just, everything just, and it makes what you need to do more effortless. We work way harder than we need to, because we
Yeah,
try to force things to happen.
seems like
But
you're good at that,
yeah,
having that that that
well,
mental
I've been doing it now
agility
for
to be
40
able to
years.
pull that together and make it happen and just
Yeah.
create it.
Yeah. That's why now I have the Center for Collective Leadership, because it is about the collective intelligence and the collective wisdom,
So let
and
me pull up
and
that
doing
website.
this together.
I'm going to pull up that website. We can chat about that for a second here.
Yeah.
So tell me about the Center for Collective Leadership. Love that
It's
name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's where conscious leaders are created. I think because the old system doesn't work. I mean, I've been saying for the last few years, the masculine success system that we as women inherited and men inherited as well. And now men and women are waking up that that system worked when it was created for what it needed to shift the way, the industrial world and everything that was happening, but it doesn't work in today's world.
Hmm.
It doesn't work. We need more love. We need compassion. We need more humanity. We need to treat people as human beings. And, that my way or the highway, that's not leadership. It's not aggressive leadership. It's like leadership without authority. It's about we're co-creating together and co-elevating together. So the Center for Leadership is about co-creating, co-elevating together and lifting each other up. And it is about, becoming a better leader, but then also let's doing it in the collective environment. So it's about a community as well.
So how do you get the men and the women talking about that and at that level? I mean, it's like, do the men have to like swallow their pride a little bit?
Well, yeah, like I had to learn how to swallow my pride. Is yes, it is. Well, right now, what it's going to attract is attracting the men that are already waking up
Well,
to this.
the women would have to as well to
Yeah,
work
because
together.
well, what happened is women were acting too masculine because they thought that was the only way for them to get noticed and to get being taken seriously.
Uh-huh.
And so now they're burnt out, they're overload. Men learned it. Remember, I mean, the midlife crisis for men, where'd that come from? It came from because of constantly the pressure of being the breadwinner, the pressure, all these things, the pressure of being masculine. That's not human. I mean, and men are starting to wake up to it. And so those that are awakened to it, which we say conscious, love to come into something like this, and hopefully that's how we'll bring awareness to others.
Yeah. So
That
let's
is my goal. I will let you know the answer to that in maybe 6 months from now.
Okay. All right. So this is a working process. This is cool. So
The
let
work in
me bring
process.
up the next event or an event that you've got. I'll show that. Be your best self. What's the fruit of this?
the fruit of this is about, so the science-based interactive is about learning how to rewire your brain and how to really be in control from your heart and not from your head. And in
Okay.
stepping into who do you need to become in order for your vision to materialize? How do you need to behave? What do you need to believe so that you could become the leader that you're meant to become? That's what this is all
That's
about. It's a
beautiful.
one-day workshop. It's a 3-hour workshop.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just did one in January. It was great. And we have another one that's going to be coming up in about another month.
All right. So we'll put this up in the show notes so everybody can, that checks it out, can
Yeah.
take a look.
But this is going to be an ongoing workshop that we're probably going to be having. So, mm, the dates will always work.
Well, it looks amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Something different. It's a piece that a lot of people are leaving out. They're working on their skill set. They're working on their tools that they need to use.
Mhm.
And they've worked on their mindset, but not at the level that they really need to work on it. It's not even about mindset. It really is about, it really is really coming from your heart because your heart really controls the brain. The brain is old school, old stories. Brain wants to give you what you want. And if you're not manifesting and believing the right things, it's going to give you the same old, same old. So if you're wondering why you keep working hard and spinning your wheels and nothing working, it's because of that. So it's a lot of it's kind of like the new neuroscience of
Mhm.
rewiring your brain so that we could get rid of what's the lies and what's not the truth and find out what your truth is and step into that reality of that. And because that's where your power is, that's where you're strong, that's where you won't second guess yourself, and that's where you don't care what other people think.
Okay.
So too often we find out that, I see it's like somewhere in the 50s to the 60s where finally you start not caring what other people think. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, why do we have to wait till we're old to say that, okay, finally don't
Stepping
care what.
into stepping into your leadership and being comfortable with who you are.
Yeah, so because we all have something great to bring. So it's a matter of being in the right place and finding the right fit that's in alignment with you so that your brilliance is needed. So it's not about the smartnesses. It's not about it really, this is more important, and on what I've seen with all successful women, right? Because I've
Mhm.
been working for the last 9 years with women business owners, the ones who in the multi six figures, the 7 figures, the really successful ones, a lot of them became successful because they just burnt the midnight oil and they kept putting their head down and working really hard
Mhm.
and men too, but a lot of women doing it that way, and then they wake up and be like, whoa, once they tapped into themselves, they learned it was a lot easier.
Okay.
And it's a common denominator that women don't start investing into themselves until they've learned the hard way. I'm trying to change that. Let's start that way. Let's get your foundation right. And then, just like a house, the foundation takes so long, and then the walls and the roof and everything goes up really fast. Your business will go up really fast when your foundation of who you are, and getting really, really clarity on that. Your business will skyrocket and accelerate at the speed of lightning. That's the difference, and that's the message I'm trying to get out to people,
Okay.
and to realize that if you just take the time and do this work and learn who you are and learn what's really important to you. What do follow your desires, follow your yearnings, not
Mhm.
follow what the world is telling you to do. Don't listen to the outside world. Listen to your inside world. You will make so much better decisions like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, all of them. That's what they all say. And, Oprah, and, you look at anyone, men or female, any leader, the common denominator is that the day that they learned on who they were and doing their own inner work at that higher level is the day when everything became that I can have it all. I could enjoy myself. I could have the life. I could have the successful business or career. raise family, go out, enjoy, have vacations, have the lifestyle, and be able to contribute to the world. That's the missing piece.
Beautiful. Well, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you today. And boy, that's bold leadership. You're bringing this idea to the masses. I've seen these concepts presented in a different light, more like, you know, you go to your Swami to learn this and and grasp it, but or a guru of some type. But you're bringing it to mainstream business to business
Yeah.
in a way that's
I'm glad
very
you said that.
constructive. I love that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because when I first started it, when I first started doing women's circles, I thought it would be the spiritual woman. And when I came on it, they just weren't my tribe. They were talking things that I was like, no, I can't. It was too spiritual. So it's not, there is spirituality in it, but it's not
Mhm.
spiritual. It's not woo woo. This is like everyday human being. This is psychology. This is
Yeah,
neuroscience. This is being human.
right. Yeah. Well, it's
So
and I've learned the physics of it. Like when you're actually changing your mind, your brain actually physically, the neuronal structure in your brain changes, and there's
yeah,
connections that disengage and connections that wire together. And
exactly.
and as you're bringing in new thoughts, your brain is actually changing
Yep.
physically,
Yeah.
and you're creating new connections. And so your your brain is absolutely pliable
Yeah.
from what I'm learning, and you're
Yeah.
taking that to a new level in the business world.
You
So
know,
that's bold to me. That's
change your
amazing.
thoughts, change your DNA.
Yeah, and healing and all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I never thought of myself as a healer, but like now actually I could actually put that next to my name if I wanted to in a sense. Uh, but that's not something that it took me a while to realize. I'm like, oh, because I'm saying I'm a coach. I'm not a healer. But I'm
yeah,
like, you know what? In the sense, when you're rewiring your brain, you are healing.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been
I'm
studying
glad you
that
said
for the
that.
last 2 years. I've had some health issues that I've been wrestling with, and I decided instead of taking the Western medicine approach, I decided to go the other direction. And I'm learning a lot about what you're talking about from a
Yeah.
health standpoint.
Well, that is, so there's a downfall of not doing what I'm saying, of not being successful in business. But another downfall is can it affects your health?
Hmm.
Is the stress?
Yeah, I
Is
was stressed
the
out. I was maxed out. My body was, 2 years ago, my body just said, time out. I'm done. I'm filing divorce papers on you, dude. I'm out of here.
Yep.
You got to make some
That's what
changes
it is.
or I'm gone. And so I had to make some decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So if we could teach people how to listen to their inner wisdom, listen to their intuition, listen to their heart,
yeah,
they will hear things that will prevent stuff when it gets to the point where, like, it happened to me too, like not in a health wise, but in a lot of other ways, where it's like louder and louder and louder and louder. And it's like, finally, it's got to like hit you with a 2x4 and to be like, okay, you're not listening. We need to make some drastic changes here.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah, that's what happened to me. And looking back on it, yeah, my body was telling me I just wasn't listening.
yeah, yeah.
So,
That's where the world needs to slow down, and we need to stop, and we need to slow down, and we need to have these rituals. We're moving way too fast. It's scary. I've seen it more and more and more, and COVID only made us faster. They said COVID gave us a time to slow down, but now everybody's trying to make up for it
right.
in double the time, and we're getting worse. So it's scary. It really is scary.
Well,
So
you're needed.
we have our work
What
cut
you're
out for
doing
us,
is
right?
needed even more now. And so I love what you're doing. And I'm
Thank you.
honored to meet you and have a chance to chat with you today. And maybe we'll have you back on the show and talk about the next level
Yeah,
at some
love
point.
to.
Yeah.
This has been
Okay.
great. Yeah, no, this is, me, this is something, if you haven't could tell by yet that I could talk about this all day long. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I could listen all day long. It'd be fun. So, but
Thank you.
we need to get going. So I'm going to say goodbye and thank you again for being with me on the show today. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me. Thank
My
you for having
pleasure.
me. This has been great. Thank you.
Thank you.